What's up, family? It's your favorite cousin Rich back again. And today, we're on episode 23 of Rich Talks. Episode 23, yes. And we are going to talk about the mirror of relationships. How relationships often serve as mirrors, you know, reflecting ourselves, what we may not see fully and deeply inside of ourselves. And sometimes these shadow elements of ourselves that we either are unconscious about or we hide tend to come about or tend to arise when we are engaged with someone. And I'm talking about marriage engaged, just an interaction in a relationship with someone. And this is not just romantic, or this is not specifically for romance. Could be a business relationship. This could be a friendship. This could be a relationship with a parent or a child. This can go for any type of relationship. Anybody you have some sort of interaction with, this is who this can go for. When we involve ourselves in a relationship with people, we tend to pick up on, or when you're involved with somebody in a relationship, and things tend to rub you the wrong way. A lot of times those things that tend to rub you the wrong way are shadow elements inside of yourself. That's either unconscious that you haven't discovered, or they're things that you have discovered, but you've hidden them. And a lot of times, I'm sorry, I saw something that just threw me all the way off. What happens is sometimes we project our inner world onto others. And we may tend to blame them for qualities that we may have, or qualities that we may have overcome. So, for instance, if you're in a relationship with someone who's arrogant, it could either mean that, and this arrogance is something that rubs you the wrong way, like really, really rubs you the wrong way. Once you take a step back, is it really that this person is arrogant? Or is it a part of yourself that is arrogant as well, but you try to hide it, or you haven't discovered it yet? And also, is it a part of you that is shy, that's more reserved, and you haven't discovered that part of you, that extroverted side of you, for lack of a better word? Things of that nature. And the reason why is because a lot of times when we can't accept something from somebody and it really rubs us the wrong way, is because we have not accepted something in ourselves. Because everybody is flawed. Nobody's perfect. Everybody has a flaw. So because everybody has a flaw, it should be accepted if it's not going against, humanity. Now, there's a difference between exiting a relationship or not engaging in a relationship because certain values don't meet, There's a difference between that and something rubbing you the wrong, not necessarily rubbing you the wrong way, but something annoying you, something, you know, something that really ruffles your feathers. And those things that's rubbing your feathers is something that you haven't dealt with. Say, for instance, someone takes forever to reply to a text message or any kind of message. The party who's disturbed by that, their issue may be that they care too much sometimes, or they do the same thing but don't realize it. You know, they want to be important. That's why they are angry that this person is taking so long to reply. You know, almost like a narcissist. That's the second option. And the first option is they probably care too much and not focused on themselves enough. Being in a relationship, like I said, not just romantic, but being in any sort of relationship is a good way to see the things that you have hidden away or that you've coped with. And this is why I find it funny where people do away with relationships of any kind. Now I understand this. Quality is better than quantity. You know, so it's better to have one or two good friends versus a whole heap of friends. You know, it's better to have one solid partner than a bunch of floozies. You know, but the great thing about being in relationships of any sort is that, like I stated earlier, it really forces you to look in the depths, and it really forces you to bring your best foot forward if you want this said relationship to prosper. Because shadow elements of yourself are going to rise. Things are going to rise. But are you big enough of a person, or do you care more about the situation enough to heal those things that either you've, you know, thrown in the back of your closet, or those things that you haven't discovered yet? Because something is going to come up. It's just, are you ready to handle it? That's the biggest thing. A lot of times the reason why people run away from relationships is because they are not ready to do the work. They're not ready for that mirror. They're not ready to handle that intensity that comes with it, because it's intense. When you're conscious, I say that a lot of people, well, some people are not conscious enough to be able to realize certain things when they're in these relationships. So this message cannot apply to them because they won't be able to be receptive to it. This message is really only for people who, or this message can only be accepted by people who are conscious enough to understand. You know, who have felt that energy of when that shadow or that mirror is being presented to them. It takes conscious work. You know? That's why they say relationships are hard work. Or it's hard work to maintain a a relationship. And this is why. It's because you can no longer just be you and expect everybody to operate around you, bend around you, and you don't change. In order for a relationship to be fruitful, both people have to fit inside this mold of what this relationship needs. Side note, dang, this restaurant is closed, the pizza place closed, jeez. I'm sorry, I'm going for my walk this morning. It's like 4 something in the morning. I like it when it's peace and quiet outside. Dang. I'm not going to tell you the name of the restaurant so y'all don't know where I'm at, but Jesus. Wow. Wouldn't have expected it. But anyways, hopefully it makes room for something better. But anyways, back to the topic at hand. Like I said, that's why a lot of people are not ready for relationships. That's why people have shallow relationships. You know, that's why they engage in shallow relationships, because it doesn't force you to bring your shadow self about. And as soon as that shadow self is brought up, whether things that you need to change or things that bother you that you're not willing to work through, it's easy for you to get up and leave. It's easy for you not to compromise because it's a shallow relationship. It's just surface level. It's nothing merely but a physical interaction, and that's it. What do you gain from it? 5 minutes of pleasure? A soul tie? Karma? I'm not knocking it. But sometimes when you know the dangers of certain things, or how these certain things hurt you more than they benefit you, you tend to stay away. Like I said, these are the benefits of relationships. They help you grow. I think that's why God intended for us to not be by ourselves. Because everybody's thought process and their feelings and emotions and all this is based off of their life experiences. But your said life experience is not the only life experience. And that's just coming from your point of view. There's so many point of views, there's so many experiences, there's so much in this world that it's not just one, just one perfect way. It's 100 ways, it's a million ways. And that's what moves this world forward. It's through interactions. It's through learning and unlearning and relearning. It's through molding. That's why relationships are important. Because you're allowed to bring your perspective from something, my perspective from something, and the things that either tick me off or tick you off, we need to work on, we can work on it and build more. And now the fruit of this product that we're working on can go out and interact with somebody else's fruit. And what? Boom. Now it becomes different fruit. It becomes, But imagine if no one interacted with other people and they just stayed to themselves. You don't get to learn or experience or grow. Imagine someone who, like people who always say, there's no good women, or guys who say, women who say there's no good men who say there's no good women. Sometimes it's your experiences that you've had is what's shaping your mindset. Sometimes the reason why you say there's no good this and no good that, because the people that you're pairing yourself with is a mirror. You know, it's a difference between getting somebody who's not equally yoked with you and you need them, okay. But someone who you found is yoked with you and now little things come up and you can't deal with it. Now you label them as, you know, not a good this or not a good that. Is that really the case? Or is it because they don't fit into your mold and your perspective? And you weren't willing to change your mold and your perspective to accept or allow them. You know, like I said, shadow self is not always just your actions or your thoughts and feelings. Sometimes it's your mindset. A lot of times when people say there's no good this and no good that, they've been with somebody who was good, but they weren't able to accept them or allow them in. So they blocked that off and went with something that aligned with them. That's why they say there's no good this and no good that. It's not because there's not. No, it's because that's what you attracted. Well, not necessarily that's what you attracted. That's what you allowed in. You attracted your mirror. You attracted what your mental mirror was. You see? Your mental mirror has told you that there's no good this and no good that. So when you bring that in and now you're faced with it, that's what you see. You know, you got to pay attention to your emotional triggers. Like I said, when you're in a relationship with somebody and you feel that trigger go off, you feel yourself emotionally being pulled by something somebody said or did, you got to sit back and pay attention to it. You know, this is part of shadow work. But you got to sit back and pay attention to it and say, why did this trigger me? Why did I feel this way when this person said or did this? And now you got to work through that. This is where growth comes as a person. This is why I say relationships are beneficial. This is why I say relationships are a good thing. Because when you're interacting with this person and now that trigger goes off, especially if you know that this is a good person for you, this is a good relationship, healthy relationship for you, and you feel that trigger. And if you're a healthy person who's conscious and you want to grow, when that trigger goes off, that's a growing moment. See, some people feel that trigger and run away. Some people feel that trigger and blame it on that person that they're in this relationship with. And say, oh, it's your fault. You did this, da 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 da. You know? They bleed on the person that didn't cut them. This person just unconsciously, triggered you. They were just being them and they triggered you. It wasn't them. It wasn't their fault. It's your fault. Well, not necessarily your fault, but it was your trigger. So now you have to sit back, pay attention to the trigger, say, why was I triggered? What triggered me? Why did it trigger me? Where did this come from? And now you have to heal through that. See, all this is just growth as a person. That's why you notice people who travel a lot, or people who, not easy to make friends, but people who believe in relationships with people and strive to have a deeper connection with people, they tend to not be judgmental, have more patience, more understanding, all these things. Why? Because they understand and they've grown. Different cultures do different things, different people do different things, even different sides of this country. Somebody may act like this, somebody may act like that, have different customs. But when you're able to have relations with these people and move about and grow with these people, certain things that, like I said, that you've had will fall off, especially if you're conscious. You know, these things that don't serve you, they'll fall off. So now when these things fall off, you become a bigger and more well-rounded person. But notice the people who've had the same friends, the same 1-2 friends, only like shallow relationships, don't travel. Those people are angry. Those people are miserable. And like I said, it's a difference between having 1-2 loyal friends and but you allow things to come in. You know, you're not necessarily looking for friends, but you allow. There's a difference between that and like somebody just running around just trying to make friends. No, don't do that. You know, it's the difference between being open and being closed off. Well, it's the difference between being open, being closed off, and searching. I would say just be open. Don't be closed off because you don't allow growth. And don't just be searching and seeking, because sometimes when you search and seek, you might run into the wrong thing. But in this case, sometimes it might not be the wrong thing, because when we're talking about growing and healing and triggers and, you know, mirrors, even if it's the wrong person that you're in a relationship, this set relationship with, you can grow from it. That's almost like the beauty of it. No matter the relationship, no matter, you know, it might not be as healthy. It might be toxic, yes. But you'll still be able to grow. You know, you could be in the most toxic relationship ever. But it's something that person's going to say or do or whatever the case is going to trigger you. Maybe a whole lot of triggers. And I'm saying this from personal experience, because I've been in a toxic relationship before. And those triggers that kept coming up, I had to sit with them and say, why am I triggered by this? Why am I triggered by that? Why am I triggered by this? Why am I triggered by that? So honestly, in those I shouldn't say those toxic relationships. Geez, making me sound some kind of way. But in this toxic relationship I'm speaking about, because I went through that and I didn't blame the other person. The other person is them. I'm me. So I can't blame you for the triggers that I have. I can't blame you for, you know, certain things. That's you. If I don't like it, I have to leave the situation. But before I just get up and leave, let me understand why these things are triggering me. Let me understand why I feel some type of way, or when these things come up. Because ultimately that's going to allow me to grow. But if I run away from these triggers, what if I'm with somebody who's healthy, well, in a healthy dynamic, but these triggers keep coming up and now I'm the toxic one? See? You see how that happens? You run away from your trigger so long, you run away from your shadow so long, you run away from all these things so long. Guess what happens? You get in a relationship, now you might be the toxic one. This comes with ignoring. This comes with, not being able to do the shadow work, self-reflect. This comes with an overinflated ego. It's crazy because as I reflect, I've been in a relationship like that before as well. Where this person, I'm not going to disclose if this is a personal relationship or a friend relationship or romantic relationship or parental relationship or anything of that sort. I'm not going to disclose that. But it's been a relationship before where the example I just said happened as I reflect about it, where you can be in toxic relationships in the past and you might have been the person who wasn't toxic. And you had triggers that went off, but you didn't pay attention to those triggers. So now you come into a healthy dynamic, or in a dynamic that could be healthy. But because you didn't pay attention to those triggers in that past relationship, and you didn't heal them, even though it might have been toxic, but you didn't heal them, guess what happens? Now when you're in this relationship, in this healthy dynamic, guess what happens? You become the toxic one. Because people are going to trigger you, no matter what. Even if you healed, haven't healed, whatever the case may be, people are going to trigger you. It's just, are you conscious enough to understand that trigger and heal from it? Do the shadow work and let it build you instead of tear you down. That's the ultimate thing. Have you done the shadow work that's needed? Are you willing to do the shadow work that's needed? And a lot of times the answer is, for some people, for majority of people, no. They have not done the shadow work needed. They're not willing to do the shadow work needed because it's hard. It's hard work. It's not easy. It's you not taking accountability. It's you not searching and seeking it inside of you. And that's it. That's why people tend to gravitate towards shallow relationships. It takes a lot of self-awareness and consciousness, willing to put your ego and pride to the side. Especially if you want to make something work. And this is if you're in a healthy dynamic, toxic dynamic, if you're the one doing the triggering, or you're the one getting triggered. Well, if you're the one doing the triggering, then that's not on you. Can't help that. You're just being you. But sometimes you have to take a step back and also see if somebody gets triggered by what you've done, it's also a growing moment for you to sit down and say, is this something that I could have done better? Or is this a moment that I can sit down with this person and say, this is me? Or, you could work with each other. But this is when both parties want something to be healthy. That's the only way that this can come about, is if both parties want this said thing to be healthy. If they see the benefit in it. If you don't, it's not going to happen. It's not going to work. It's too much work. And especially in the times that we live in now, people are not willing to put in that work. Even a casual encounter, when you tell somebody, good morning, You walk by them and say good morning, and this other person doesn't say good morning back to you. And you get triggered some type of way, you know? When you sit with it, you have to say, am I triggered because this person didn't say good morning? And now, is it personal? Or is it just that's how the culture is over here? And this person might be having a bad day. And on the flip side, this person who was told good morning and now they feel some type of way, they are trying to figure out, well, why did this person tell me good morning? Mind your business, you know? They might have an attitude with somebody telling them good morning. And now they might have to do the healing or the shadow work to see, maybe I have my guards up too much. Maybe people actually do lead with love out here and not just hate. Maybe it is okay to be open and tell people good morning and smile and be happy. And I don't have to be all closed off and mad and angry all the time and be all about business. You know? Something just as simple as a social interaction like that can teach you a lot about yourself. Again, this is episode 23. The mirror of relationships. I hope this helps somebody. It's your favorite cousin. Y'all be safe. I love y'all. Love and blessings.